Hello and welcome to are we on episode 9 or 10?
I think we're on 9, but I
Okay.
could be wrong.
We'll figure that out. Welcome back to Forbidden Angel. I am Sue, and my angel coach, and this is Dolores Garcia, certified angel coach and Miguel's mom.
Mhm.
And today we're here to talk to you about how to say no and not feel guilty, which is a major theme for so many of us. So, would you like to give us some context for us?
Yeah, so I guess that I had this notion that this big event that happened, um, that as I go through what I really have started to call a pilgrimage, is that as I go through this, that like I'm going to come out of it and I'm going to be like perfect, like different, like changed. And when I was really in the depths of it, as I will call, I really did feel like I had changed, and that I I really was on a more gentle walk, and that I was a kinder person. And so over the weekend, a friend of mine asked me for something, to give her something, and I'm going to admit I was mildly triggered. Like I was able to, I actually um, didn't answer her and just said, "Let me get back to you on that." And so that was a change of mind, because the old iteration of Dolores wouldn't have been able to um, buy myself space and time and reflection. But I did still feel triggered by the request.
I'm
And
guessing by all the throat clearing that you still feel triggered by the request.
yeah, and my throat chakra, she's so cute. I'm just like, I was fine before we started this recording, and now it's all in my throat. And so I don't know, maybe we don't.
Coincidence? No, there is no such thing, right? So she's given us a message, like, "I don't feel comfortable speaking my truth around." No.
Yeah, or around this situation, I'm feeling a little nervous about it. And so I think that, well, let's just feel into this, is that um, understanding what a trigger is, and how it has nothing to do with the rightness or wrongness of what the person asked you or did or presented to you. It's all in you. And maybe I have a little bit of nervousness about that, is that um, I'm not I'm not throwing this person under the bus. I'm not saying that she asked me for anything wrong or that she did anything wrong, but my reaction was um, very defensive, very agitated, um, very triggered. Yeah.
Yeah, so the angels are saying, let's start with it in a context that's totally unrelated, just because sometimes that makes it easier.
Yeah.
So let's say somebody asks you out on a date, and you don't wanna go on a date with that person, like, you're just not interested in them. Even then, it's really hard often to say no because we don't wanna hurt somebody's feelings. But it's not that there's anything right or wrong about this, right? It's not always right to go on a date with somebody, and it's not always wrong to go on a date with somebody. It's situational. And they're saying that everything is like that. Everything is situational. What this person asked you for, there might be a time and place where it would be divinely perfect for you to say yes. But in that moment, you felt that it was not. They want to bring your attention, first of all, to, you were tuning into your guidance. The fact that you felt triggered was a clue that it wasn't a hell yes. Let's just keep it super simple, right? Like, if it's not a hell yes, it's a no. So in that moment, it was very much not a hell yes. So yay for you for giving yourself the space by saying, I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah. But underscore that a trigger is not a bad thing. A trigger is like the heavens opening up, and it's like a big sign. And so I acknowledge that I didn't get freaked out that I was triggered, which makes you go even worse. But it's like, oh, there's a yield sign here. There's a pause. So
Yeah.
triggers are not bad things. They're like packed full of goodness, of gifts. So okay. So
So that's beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for making that very explicit because most people think that triggers are wrong, right? I shouldn't ever get triggered in life. I should be able to walk through life completely impervious, never triggered by anyone or anything. And that's kind of like that toxic positivity that we've talked about before, where I should go through life and I should be joy and bliss and love and la la la. And and when you see somebody kicking a dog, you probably aren't going to feel that way.
no.
Like that is not how you were built. You were not built to constantly be blissed out, not in physical. Now, in non physical, it's a whole different experience, but we're not intended to be in physical and have the experience of non physical. That's why we're in physical. Like,
Okay.
kind of makes sense. Um, so triggers, as you said, they have a huge gift. Every time you can notice that you're triggered and give yourself a little time to reflect, which might mean excusing yourself from whatever's going on in the moment to go to the bathroom or, whatever you can do to give yourself the power of the pause. Um, in that moment, you can not just reclaim power, but you can see that you've come around the spiral, you've evolved, you're at the same kind of situation, but it doesn't feel as turbulent as it did in the past. And you could give yourself choice. So it's literally an opportunity to recognize just how powerful you are and how much choice you have. All of us on this planet are craving freedom because humanity has been enslaved for so long. That is the dominant desire of people. So, one of the biggest gifts of freedom you can give yourself is to love your triggers, recognize your triggers, thank them for their service. Now, that we make it sound really easy. And we know that there are many times, especially if it's a profound trauma trigger, where it pulls you out of your higher reasoning. It puts you into fight or flight. It puts you into the amygdala part of your brain where you don't have access to higher reasoning. You don't have access to thoughts. All the more reason to give yourself a pause right then. So when you notice that you're in panic, when you notice that your heart is racing, when you notice that you've, got a cold sweat, whatever your body gives you a clue as to what's going on, um, please, please take a moment. If you can, right where you are, close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths. It's the best physical reset for your trauma response system that we've come across. So when you close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths, your body knows that it's not really a danger situation. Because, as we've said, when you're running from the saber-toothed tiger, you cannot close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths. So your body knows it was a false alarm, and it will reset the cascade of hormones going through your system. So so even the most profound triggers, even the deepest trauma triggers can be that gift of that opportunity to give yourself the gift of pause and reset and recenter. And this is very much up right now. Like this is what we're all being asked to do on the planet is recenter and come into the moment. Now triggers
Oh, put you.
pull us right out of the moment. They pull us
Yeah.
into the past and so they're the perfect opportunity to practice what we're being asked to embody right now. We're being asked to remember that all of our power is right here, right now in the present moment. And so every time we feel triggered, every time we find ourselves sucked into something from the past, it's a perfect opportunity to practice coming back here. And closing your eyes and taking 3 deep breaths is the easiest way to come back into your body right here, right now. You can, make an effort to put your feet on the ground, feel yourself right here and connected, feel yourself on your chair. If you're in your car, feel your hands on the steering wheel, literally do whatever you can to come into this moment. And then if you need to, this is called havening. It's a very powerful practice to self-soothe the nervous system, Emotional system. All right. So what's coming up in you?
So as you described those steps, I can recognize that I did those. And it's so interesting because you just feel so wobbly. You just feel so wobbly, and you're like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, and why is this bugging me? And so I didn't do 3 deep breaths with my eyes closed, but I did step back. I put a pause on it. I I knew, I recognized I I could not answer. I just could not answer that right now because there was an absolute flood of so many different thoughts that did not agree with each other. Yeah, but this, and yeah, but this, and yeah, but this, but what about this? And you're just being a jerk and just la 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 la. And I was like, yeah, I need to calm down. I need to come to the present. And I think the next step was that, um, and I just love how you explain that doing those 3 deep breaths and closing your eyes proves that there is no saber-toothed tiger, that it is not a true physical danger, that you can buy yourself time and just pause, the gift of that pause. And then I asked, yeah, like, where is this coming from? Like, it wasn't, I mean, Dolores, and really, to me, triggers are, I feel that it's a bigger deal than it really may be. And so I go, okay, is this being blown out of proportion? Does this feel bigger than it really is? Like, really, where's this coming from? And that is my go-to strategy of, okay, and then of course I find my journal and my pen and I start writing. And so can you help us understand that of, why are we triggered? Like, where is this trigger coming from? And see if there's some clearing that I would benefit from having.
Sure. So first, we really want to underscore what you said, that one of the ways we can recognize that we're triggered in the moment, and it's sometimes hard to recognize in the moment because we're in the movie, right? We're living the movie as opposed to watching the movie as observer. So when we're feeling triggered, we know that our reaction is bigger than what just happened.
Okay.
Somebody said something, and I'm having a huge physical, emotional, mental response to it. I've got a million thoughts going. I'm feeling very uncomfortable in my body. So I know, especially in the case of somebody just asked you a question like, could you do this for me? Or can I have this? Or, will you go to the party with me on Saturday? And we're like, ah! So, it's not exactly what just happened. Somebody just pushed a trauma trigger or a hot button,
Okay.
whatever you want to call it. I am feeling triggered. So those triggers show us where we still have a little work left to do. And we don't mean that in a, you're running behind, you should have fixed all this stuff already. Like, why do you still have stuff left to do, right? We're always going to be becoming more. We're always going to be evolving. And those triggers are an opportunity to notice where we still have story or woundedness or fear or shame or anything going on that could use our love and attention.
Mhm.
And that's really all it is. It's a cry from usually our inner child for love and attention.
Mhm.
So when we feel triggered, our inner child is scared, shamed. She's in that spot. She's hiding in the closet. She's curled up in the corner. She's under the covers with everything over her head. So it's a chance to step into our inner nurturer and be with her and love her. And that's partly why havening is so successful, because it has that energy of, the divine perfect mother soothing us and reassuring us that everything's going to be okay. And so our triggers come from all kinds of different circumstances and events. They come from things that terrified us when we really were a child or traumatized us. They come sometimes from the collective. We can be tuned into a lot of bigger picture things around assault, things around lack of freedom, all kinds of things that are going on the planet in this lifetime and previous lifetimes. We have access to the entire collective consciousness. So the cool thing that's emerging today is the appreciation for the trigger. I literally used to talk about dissolving people's trauma triggers, but there's no point in dissolving them until we have healed, loved back into wholeness, the cause of it.
Yes.
So a trigger is a lot more wonderful than most of us have been led to believe.
Yeah.
So the first thing we want to do is dissolve all of the ways that we are resisting human beings. So everything that we've learned, all the programming we've received, everything that says we should be all the time, we should be able to remain centered and calm every moment of every day. And when we feel triggered, there's something wrong with us. Let's uncreate, delete, dissolve, and dissipate all of that programming, every aspect of that patterning that no longer serves you. Surrendering all of that disharmony for the greater good of all and setting you free of it forevermore. Yeah, that one's moving a lot of energy in your throat. I can feel wave after wave after wave of energy. So in much the same way that most of us have been taught to resist anxiety or resist depression and, kind of play whack-a-mole with that emotion when it shows up, get out of here, and we're trying to shoot the messenger. Same thing with trauma triggers. It turns out trauma triggers are valuable messengers. And when we can give ourselves the pause, the moment or day or week or however long it takes to relax, reset, love ourselves back into harmony, allowing our inner family to come back into harmony, then that trigger was a huge gift. It shows us a place where we were leaking energy, where we were leaking power, and it gives us an opportunity to reclaim our power, reclaim our sovereignty. How did that feel?
Yeah. This is an incredible topic, and I don't remember when. I know it's been within this last year, especially of working with you. Is that because you know me, I am anti-toxic positivity girl. I am like the spokesperson of that, and like my appreciation of triggers, because they're just so dramatic and they really catch my attention. Like I gained a very deep appreciation of them quite a while ago. And so this journey just didn't start this weekend. Like I have really, really been visiting this and unwrapping this gift for, I'm going to say, at least a solid year of not being a victim to it, but really being a partner with it. And I guess that the next step is, just understanding the concept of triggers and the gifts of them. I'm still revisiting and being able to navigate like the lower vibrational emotions. It's like I still haven't made friends with depression and anxiety, and I'm working on that. I'm it keeps presenting itself, but there's what I'm so intrigued with is really, what was I triggered? I was triggered about being able to say no. And Sue, that is such a big collective topic on, like it addresses like every facet of our existence, of being able to say yes and or no or maybe or not now, exactly what the options you gave us, and doing it with such love.
Yes.
And I know that this is one of the gifts of what happened this weekend, of, what? Oh, I still do not have the freedom of choice that I would really like to have. Well, I have it, but I don't utilize it.
Right. And you
Right?
don't feel okay using
Yes.
it. Right.
Yes.
So many of us had our no programmed out of us as a child, right? Over
Don't tell me no.
Or, you sit down at dinner and you're not hungry and you're like, "No, I don't wanna eat." And your parents are like, "It's dinner time. We're eating now or never," right? So simple things that are just normal parts of life, we get our no programmed out of us.
Yes.
It's exacerbated dramatically by the fact that there's huge slavery programming on the planet. So we've been programmed to shame and guilt each other into doing the things that we want the other to do. The funny thing is about somebody guilting you into doing what they think you should do or they want you to do, and then they call you selfish if you don't want to, right? And the funny thing about that is really they're being selfish in that moment. You should do what I want you to do, not what you want to do. So all of that we can feel like the craziness in that. It's all programming.
Yeah.
Um, so many people that I work with feel like they have to come up with a good excuse
Right.
in order to be able to say no. Right,
Right.
so I get invited to go to lunch with somebody on Saturday, and I have to make up an excuse why I can't go, as opposed to saying, "Oh, I really appreciate you inviting me. Thank you so much. I'm sorry I can't make it," and leave it at that, right? And maybe that's not even true. Maybe it's not that I can't make it. Maybe it's that I choose not to go. But it's really hard to say that to somebody, isn't it? I'd really rather not. Just seems so unkind. It's not nice.
Yeah.
It goes against the nice programming, and we have so much programming to be nice, right? Especially women, but everybody on the planet has been taught you should be a nice person. And so being nice means not hurting anybody else's feelings, being nice, and a lot of women have been taught to sacrifice, which is, again, a big part of the slavery programming and also a big part of the dysfunctional inner nurturer who nurtures everybody else at the expense of self
Mhm.
and feels resentful and depleted and angry. Why, I do all this for you. Why can't you do this one little thing for me? So it's part of the
Yeah.
mother syndrome.
Okay.
So you can feel how much crazy is tied up in this yes and no. Like there's masses and masses and masses of programming. So what the angels would like to do is to start to dissolve that very gently for people because again, this is so much and so big and so far reaching. They don't want to do it all in one fell swoop, or you'll wind up needing to take a nap for 2 days. It's not a nap when it's 2 days long. But anyway, you'll kind
Oh
of
my.
just worn out and maybe not quite sure who you are and how to relate to people. So they're gonna do this unwinding, and untangling and dissolving very gently over the next hour, day, week, depending on how much gunk you still have in your system. So all of the ways that you've been programmed to not be allowed to say no, that you need to put everybody else's needs before yours, that if you are gonna say no, you need a damn good excuse. Let's uncreate, delete, dissolve, and dissipate all of that programming. There's so much in there. There's from this and all previous lifetimes across all time, space, dimensions, and realities, and all the timelines you have running right now. Giving you back complete and total freedom to choose what you do, when you do, and with whom you do it. Giving you back sovereignty over your body so that you may own your no. Going back to like dating situations, right? You may own your no. No, I don't want to kiss you. No, I don't want to make love tonight. Ooh, there's a lot there. Okay. So sitting with that one, the permission and the sovereignty over your beautiful, sweet body. And to recognize when your body feels triggered, when she is saying no. So many times we've been taught to override our body, that the angels are asking you to begin to just gently listen. You don't have to go from 0 to 100 in in 3 seconds. You don't have to be a Ferrari in this game. You can be on your Vespa, just slowly easing up to whatever speed works for you. But allowing you to recognize when your body is saying no, and yes, and maybe, and not now. and giving you permission to say, if it feels lighter to you, to say no, thank you. The angels want to remind you that you are absolutely able to say no with great love. And again, that no, the no that doesn't feel triggered, the no that doesn't feel resentful or angry or defensive, comes from a place of unconditional self love first. And then when I'm in this space of I love me so much, I can see that me doing this with you would not be in service, or I can see that me doing this for you would not be in service, or I can see that me, doing whatever this is on Saturday is not going to be in service. I can do it from this beautifully compassionate and kind place because it's coming from love.
Yeah.
So and then I can choose if I want to embellish beyond no, thank you, or I appreciate the offer, but not this time, or whatever it is that you choose to say. The words will flow effortlessly when you take that time to center, come into self-love, come into harmony, and then speak your yes, no, maybe not now.
Yeah. So much of what you said really does resonate and brings me such clarity. Is that I had the thought of, I don't want to give. She asked me for some information, and I don't want to give you this information, and I felt very defensive and judgy. And really, the bottom line is that I really don't think this serves either anybody. And so it really was the other side of the coin. Is that one side, it was defensive and irritation and selfishness and judgment, and the other side was, the truth of the matter, the discernment level. The discernment side was, I just really honestly do not feel like this serves any of us. And that does feel so much more loving and true. One thing that I learned a while ago is that when we give our answer that is not our true answer, it really is a form of dishonesty. And so, they want a certain something, they want an answer, and you give them what you think that they want, but that's not truth for you. It really is a form of dishonesty. So even though you're complying with them, it's really not building your relationship, because it's putting it on a foundation of dishonesty. Do you have more to understand from that?
That's a great point. So many times we do things that we don't want to do, right? Inside we're screaming no, and outside we somehow say yes, and then we go do that thing. And we do that thing with resentment, or we do that thing with frustration and irritation. Oh, you really need me to do that? And the other person can't help but feel the energy with which we're doing whatever we're doing. So we've been taught that doing it anyway is the loving thing to do. But the other person feels anything but love coming from us, right?
Yeah.
They feel this not loving energy coming off of us. So when we choose not to be the martyr, not to do the thing with resentment or irritation, that is actually far more loving toward that other person. And oftentimes, for those of us who've spent a lot of time in rescuer mode, fixer, saving, helping others, we are always out there helping. When we tune into our guidance and feel, oh, this is a no, often that's because it's time for that other person to practice doing it on their own, or to practice their asking, right? Maybe it's easy to ask you, but not easy to ask the person who the infinite would like for them to ask right now.
Yes.
So we can't see all those moving parts and pieces, but when we feel it's time for us to say no, the angels are asking us to really trust that.
Okay.
To not try and second guess, not try and figure out, because it may be, oh, they're saying sometimes it may be so surprising and delightful that when we say no, and that person goes to the store to get whatever it is that they need to do the thing, that's where they meet their soulmate. That's where they find the person who's about to hire them into their dream job. Like, we can't know how this is all going to unfold, but we can be a cooperative component in the unfolding. And
Yes.
sometimes that means saying no. So if
Yeah.
we can trust that when we're getting guidance to say no, there's a reason, and it often has nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing about it, right? We make it all about us because, we see from our perspective, of course, the world is all about us. But sometimes the angels are guiding you to say no for a reason that has absolutely nothing to do with you.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
sometimes you'll hear the story of, oh my God, I'm so glad you didn't go with me to that thing because while I
Yeah.
was at that event, I met this amazing person. And sometimes you won't hear, but you can trust that the angels have got it.
Yes. Yes. And, really, I don't know if it's empowering our the word no. I think that that's what it is that no has become so has I mean, it's such an evil, wrong answer. And it has been stripped of its power because I mean that exactly what you described, that it really is resonating, is that she it she needed to go ask somebody else. She didn't need to ask me. And it's going to be better that way if she asks somebody else or not, or just says, okay, well, no is no. Um, the power that has been, and and I really do think the empowerment that the option to say no has been stripped away from us. And we talk about this being a free will planet. Honey, if we can't say no, that's not free will.
Right.
Like that's kind of obligation. Do it, or I don't care if you like it, do it anyway.
Yes.
Yeah.
Talk about command and control.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you touched on there that the angels got all excited about, they're so excited to talk about, is you said how the word no has become bad and wrong somehow. And if you can think about it, like when you talk to your dog or your cat or whatever, like you shout no when they're doing something bad or wrong. No, don't do that. No. Or when your child is about to do something that scares you or that's wrong, right? About to run out in the street. And so hearing no can be a trauma trigger for people. And so in our kindness and in our empathy, we often don't want to say that word that's traumatic to people,
Yeah.
even though we're not coming from that place. Well, sometimes we are coming from that place. And when we can come from love, we can say it in a way that either has the benefit of triggering that person for the gift of recognizing that they have a trigger around hearing the word no. And so coming back around to the beginning of the conversation, right? That being triggered is not a wrongness. Being triggered is an amazing gift and an opportunity to heal and love ourselves into harmony. But many of us don't want to be that trigger because
Yeah.
we're sensitive and because we're love. We don't want to trigger someone else by saying no.
Well, and that brings us again to the beginning of the conversation. The trigger event is not about the other person. They're just the messenger, but we don't like being the bearer of bad news, if you will. We don't like to be that messenger, but it's not about us. Yeah. If
So
we're the messenger.
let's dissolve that fear of being the triggerer, right?
Yes.
One who pulls the trigger, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, all of the ways that we have been programmed to never ruffle anybody else's feathers, and for many of us, we're so empathic that we can feel what other people need from us. And we have been programmed by our childhood trauma to be that at any cost to self. Let's begin to gently, in divine perfect timing, dissolve all of that programming, allowing us to actually show up and sometimes be the one who triggers another. Because We hate to tell you, but you do it anyway. We all we can't know everybody else's trigger, and it's not our job to avoid triggering them. Triggering them can be the greatest gift that ever happened. So allowing you the complete freedom to be triggering and allowing you to be with that, to be without guilt, without shame, without apologizing a million times. Now, it may be a we're not saying you should never apologize. We're not saying you should never help someone through feeling triggered. But the angels want to know that you have their permission to say no, even when you know it's going to trigger the other person. They are with you. They are with that other person. They love you all. And they are always helping us evolve into more. They're always helping us become more whole. So we're not saying go out and trigger as many people as you can tomorrow. That's probably not how you're built anyway if you're watching this. And giving you permission to value when you feel triggered and to allow the angels to use you as an instrument of the divine to trigger someone else sometimes. All right, so all we ever have to do again is trust the divine, trust the angels, trust that we can be used as a tool of the divine, even when that looks like triggering somebody else.
And to be clear, we somebody actually asked me, and it was a man who I had gone on a date with, and and I was triggered by something that he said, and I explained it to him, and yeah, he felt so responsible. He's like, "Well, what are your other triggers?" And you're like, "Dude, you don't. It's not things that you don't like. It's like you don't even. They're hidden to you. They're subconscious, and so I don't know that you can you really on purpose go out and trigger somebody. I think you just kind of trip over it.
Well, you definitely can go out and purposely trigger somebody. I mean, if you know that somebody struggles with the disrespect core wound, right? You can go out and say something disrespectful to them to get a rise
Oh,
out of them. There are
oh,
people who do that.
okay.
Um,
Yeah, my brain doesn't work that way. I'm not like, "Oh God, please, I don't want to hurt your feelings." Yeah.
right, right. And the people who gravitate to us, the people who we find ourselves surrounded by, tend to be the people who err on the side of too much kindness to others at the expense of self.
Mhm.
So, and part of that is because we are empaths. We are highly sensitive people. We are very attuned to what others are feeling. And and you're not meant to know your triggers, coming back around to what you said about that man asking you. I mean, that's there's sweetness in him wanting to know so that he wouldn't upset you again.
Yeah.
But there's also so much richness in being triggered in the moment. And most of the time in relationship, intimate relationship or family relationship or close friendships, um, those people are meant to trigger us. That's part of the definition of soulmate in some circles is you're the people who push my buttons the most because my soul is saying, okay, let's get over this thing already. Could you push that button so we can snip the wiring already? But
Mhm.
I can't do it until I know the button is there.
Yeah.
Wow, this has been very rich
Yeah.
and so much broader than I was expecting.
And you know what I was thinking as I was listening to you and the angels, is that, and I guess I just want to put a pointer to this, is that when I'm addressing and visiting, something that is turbulent in my space, it's not just me, my personal problem, is that there is a collective, there is generational, there are timelines, there are past lives. And so I guess that I just wanted to, because when I started to understand that, because it used to be like gads, Dolores, why can't you get a grip on your shit? Like, what is your problem? There are more things going on in the iceberg of Dolores's behavior. That is the tip of the iceberg. And then what is below the conscious level, all of those things going into it. So I guess that I just find so much hope and relief that I'm not just the tip of my iceberg. There's a lot of other things going on that is influencing how I show up, and to understand that. And also, as you do the clearing on me and what my personal question was, it benefits the collective, and it also benefits timelines and past lives and past generations, and that we stand as a very strong and potent proxy for the collective. And so it's not just about Dolores and her trigger this weekend. It's the bigger picture. Yeah.
Absolutely. All the work we do as proxy. Thank you for pointing that out. And we are each the microcosm of the macrocosm. So in oneness, you are everything and everyone. I am everything and everyone. So the work that we do with one affects everybody because we are all connected. We are all one giant being.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much for being able to just, spread this out and sort through it and come out feeling so much lighter. And on so many different levels, so many different questions.
Yes. Thank you for bringing so many wonderful questions and to dig deeper into this than I ever imagined we would go, and broader, and so much rich, helpful material for people. So
yes.
Perfect as always. I love you.
Yeah, I love you. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Bye.